When I asked about this Algerian woman who is covered and what does this image represent to you as soon as you see it, many of those who are not Muslims will say this is an image that represents oppression and the subduing of the woman. She's subservient, you know, and so on, and all those things that go with that. But when I ask about this image of a man from a Catholic order in Europe, then the opposite is given to me, that this is a symbol of purity, of chastity, of goodness, etc. And see, so we misinterpret these images, because when you ask a Muslim woman from Algeria, as they did a census in Egypt at one time, and they ask Muslim women who cover their hair, because there are some women who don't, and they say, why do you cover? A lot of women will tell you that this is what my religion has taught me, and I do it to serve and to please God in that process, right? So these are the stereotypes that you continue to see. Do all Kenyans run? Yeah, sure. But I'm not this guy who won the marathon. I run the Music City Marathon. But when I tell people, oh, I run marathons, and oh, you're from Kenya? Oh yeah, of course you run marathons. Yeah, sure, of course I run marathons. But I'm not this guy, right? So just keep that in mind. So, I don't know, why did this give some slides? Let me see what I gave here. Wrong, because I'm not done with my presentation. What I did to skip some slides here. Bear with me for just a second. Let's see what happened to this presentation. It did not want to reload up into the computer, or what it is, because I'm not really done with the presentation. I wanted to talk about our misconceptions. Yes. So, right here. So back to this issue of women in Islam, because this is an issue that comes back again and again in Islam. And when you capture these two pictures again side by side, this is a Muslim woman from Egypt, and I took this from one of the paintings that were found in the medieval churches of Europe, of what supposedly represent that of Mary, the mother of Jesus, to whom be peace. And again, they're both raising their hands in prayer, but in actuality, if you ask, you will receive two different answers from these type of pictures. And again, the same thing will go there. I don't know why I keep on doing this. Any computer literate person here? Because it should have gone to this picture next.
I think you have some slides here. It says hide slide. You overlap.
I'm not clicking the right button, is that what you're saying? Okay, so the dress in the Muslim world. Now, the dress in the Muslim world, of course, differs according to the tastes of the region in terms of the attire and the dress of the region. If you look at women in Algeria and Egypt, this is a very popular North African attire. Muslim women in Saudi Arabia will be covered in a different attire. In Pakistan, such as in this bride, of course, this is bridal wear. But I mean, of course, you know, they also dress differently. In the Maldives, the Islamic Republic, you'll see the same thing. And one of my favorite pictures from Yemen, but more so, even more favorite now, the designer veils made by Yves Saint Laurent, you know, in women in Dubai. So when I walked in malls in Dubai, there were some of them had Calvin Klein logos, you know, and so on, right? Were captured in the market as well. So maybe the flavor, the taste of the region, of course, right? Okay. So on the issue of peace and war in Islam, this is a misconception that is raised a lot in Islam, and one of which is the question of jihad. Is it war, or is it holy war, or what really is it? That you hear this term a lot, to the point that in the dictionary, and previously non-existent, the term jihadist is now popular in the dictionary, and is part of the modern dictionary nowadays, all right? But if you look at this term carefully in Islam, you'll see that it is far from what it is being used for in the media, or the explanation that you see in popular literature and in popular dramas, such as in TV programs or movies for that matter. What this term really means is that some sort of a struggle. So in other words, if I have a family, I'm struggling to raise my children to be decent citizens of the world, I can be argued to be in a form of jihad with my children, right? I'm raising them to be decent citizens of the world. If you are a student on campus and you're struggling and striving and working hard to get that A in your class, you are in some sort of a jihad, really. So the term really, in Arabic, really means something else totally. And it absolutely does not mean war. Let me tell you what the term for holy war is in Arabic and see if it sounds like jihad. So keep in mind the word jihad. In Arabic it is al-harbul muqaddasatun. Does that sound like jihad? Obviously not, right? That is what holy war means. So definitely it's got nothing to do with holy war. And those who used it for that reason or whatever, it has nothing to do with holy war. Now, the other question that also brings about a lot of misconceptions is the question of democracy in the Arab world. Of course, this is an article that was in The Economist, one of the think tanks in the Western world, about different matters in different corners of the world, whether it's geopolitics, economics, and so on. And the article that was run at the time was, is gunpoint an acceptable way of introducing democracy in the Muslim world? Of course, the issue is more complex, and perhaps this is not even the forum to address this, because it is really a very complex issue. Because underneath that, and the undertones, really that really govern this issue of democracy, is the issue of aristocracy and autocracy. These are forms of governments that are very popular in the Muslim world, and of course, many of the citizens of the Muslim world, if you talk to them one-on-one in cafes and coffee shops and restaurants and so on, they are so concerned about the issue of aristocracy and autocracy, and they find these to be inhibiting factors to the pursuit of democracy in the Muslim world. So keep that in mind, of course, as you read about the quest for democracy in the Muslim world. And so what about the question of pluralism? This is another issue that also brings a lot of misconception. Is Islam tolerant to other religions? Can they live side by side with Christians and Jews and so on, and Hindus and so on? And the answer is yes. And those few incidences that we have seen where perhaps the order of things is perturbed, that's really not the norm. The norm is that these religions have lived side by side. Believe it or not, during the Inquisition, if you remember in Spain, in the Iberian Peninsula, during the Inquisition, many of the Jews and Muslims who ran away from that part of the world and came into northern Africa, clearly the Jewish historians say this about this, that Jews and the scholars among the Jews, such as Maimonides and others, they found acceptance in Muslim land, and they found Muslim lands certainly very tolerant to their presence, and they ended up developing their careers there, certainly intellectual thought that came out of that experience as well. But clearly there is a teaching in Islam that is captured in the Quran that says, Kana nas, and when translated it means the people were one, or are one, meaning that all of us come from Adam. And so our Adamic bond transcends religion. They cross these racial and religious barriers. Now we're all descendants of the one human being that was created, the first human being, and that is Adam. And so clearly in the Quranic teachings and in the prophetic teachings, the issue of pluralism is well captured in there, that Islam is indeed tolerant to other religions. On the issue of extremism, this is another issue that is raised a lot in questions that are asked. The Prophet of Islam said this about extremism. إِيَّاكُمْ وَغُلُوا فِي الدِّينِ. Now, when translated, it says, beware of extremism in the religion. Beware of extremism in the religion. Meaning that extremism really has no place in Islam, that Islam is a moderate religion, and that it welcomes people of other faith, and that people should be allowed to worship freely in whatever corner of the world they're in, whether they are in a Muslim land, where they're majority Muslims, or where they are minority themselves, right? And so these are some of the misconceptions I wanted to go over with you, because they are the main misconceptions that we see a lot and we hear a lot about Islam. So once again, those stereotypic attitudes that sometimes come from those lenses that we wear, they can be removed, and then surely you can start doing Tai Chi and feel a lot better about dehumanizing and demonizing others. So with that, I think I'll leave you with those few remarks. And I wanted this to be my last slide. Do all Kenyans run? Yes. They all win a marathon. I've been Azim, of course. So anyway, thank you very much for listening.